Hey everyone. Sorry there hasn't been any videos for a while. Sometimes, life just gets in the way. My dad was in the hospital again with yet another stroke. So, some things got waylaid and filming was one. This video is going to be a little bit of a rant, so I'll just apologize now. But I had to take Finnian here to the vet. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on Finn. So when I got Finn, he was about 14 months old and seemed to be doing fine. He was a little small, but he caught up after he'd been here for a few months. And so he was doing fine, and then in 2019, he started flipping himself over and couldn't get back up, and I didn't know why, and I got really nervous. I took him to the vet, and they checked him, and everything looks pretty good. His calcium's just a couple of points low, but they took an x-ray and the x-ray showed beautiful bones. And they said, well, maybe all the calcium he's taking in is just going to his bone structure and, there's nothing supporting his central nervous system, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. So they put him on liquid calcium for a month and charged me a little over $600 and sent us packing. Okay, so we did the liquid calcium. He never got better. It didn't make any difference. He's still flipping himself over. Okay, last year I took him in to see a different doctor, hoping that maybe they would be able to do something more for him than had been done originally. Hi, sweetheart. You're such a good boy. And nope. They checked him out. They checked him over. And they said, he's got a little bit of arthritis in one shoulder, and that might be causing him to kind of, his arm to go out from under him. But we don't really know why he can't get back up. So after checking him over, the doctor said, there are some illnesses that they can get as a juvenile that can cause neurological issues as they become an adult. So they're basically dormant until they all of a sudden give them grief. Okay. Well, that made sense because we sort of found out the hard way that he did have some kind of an illness as a juvenile and was apparently brought back to health by, I don't know, some employee probably, because he was already 6 months or more when he went home with his first owner. So, and that's unusual for the pet stores around here. Around here, they literally just, if they can't sell a hatchling, all of a sudden they disappear. So I won't tell you what they do, but you can probably guess. So anyway, so we've just been putting up with that, and I've been watching him. Finnian is also my first ever dragon. He's my very best. He's my heart. But lately he started dragging his back feet for the most part and not really using them normally. So he's using his front legs fine, and then instead of standing up on his back legs, he's commando crawling with them and sliding across on his tummy. So this worried me, along with the fact that he wasn't eating typically, and I didn't know why. And unfortunately, the lack of appropriate exotic pet care in this area is awful. I mean, really awful. We have a couple of vets who will, quote unquote, see a reptile, but they do not specialize and have no idea. So, okay, back I went to this terrible vet that I don't like, and it's 45 minutes away. They're just terrible. You have to take whichever reptile doctor they happen to have rotating that month. And it's just really, it's not the experience you want for your animal. The frustrating part, you guys, is I live in a county between LA and Santa Barbara, where this particular county is mostly retirees, but, there's lots of money in this county, and you cannot find a herpetological vet to save your soul. That's a reality. So, but I was really worried about this, him not walking normally and not eating normally anymore. So I took him in a couple of days ago and went through the whole thing again. Now, the one doctor that was pretty good left to go back to Chicago. which is where he was from, and I don't blame him. I think the amount of money they charge had something to do with it. I think he was kind of angry about it. And so it's in an area of obscene wealth down here, which I think plays a part in their ridiculous prices. Anyway, not that any place is going to give you a break on how much it costs for any kind of a reptile, but you know, you get my meaning. They charge more than even the standard because they can. Okay, so I took him in, and I kid you not, the veterinarian that came out looked like she was about 12. She could not have been a vet more than a few years. Came out with a preconceived notion, took one look at him and go, "Oh, it's metabolic bone disease." I said, "No, it is not metabolic bone disease." And so I had to then explain that, you know, I rescue these animals. I've done the research. I have talked to veterinarians. I've done everything that I can to educate myself because I take sick and injured animals. So if I can't help them, what's the point of taking them, right? Okay, so I also brought in for her to see all of the supplements, including the breakdown of what ingredients are in the supplements in case she wanted to see the chemistry behind it. In that group of supplements, with his probiotic and his multivitamin, he had regular calcium powder with D3, and liquid calcium. So he has everyday calcium, he has calcium with D3 he gets twice a week, and he gets liquid calcium weekly. Okay? She never looked at it, she didn't even ask me until I pointed out to her that I brought them for her to see, and that these are the ones, all of the supplements he gets on a regular basis. And then, you know, sometimes he also gets bee pollen, sometimes he gets cherry extract if his little toes are swollen, you know, that kind of a thing. So she still was adamant that, "Oh, this is very typical metabolic bone disease." I said, "You have an x-ray that you took in February of 2021. You're welcome to take another one if you'd like to, but you can see on the x-ray he does not suffer from MDB." Okay? So even though I don't think his nutrition was fantastic, he did have the UVB that he needed and the calcium supplementation. The people that rehomed him to me had other reptiles. They also had an iguana. They had some leopard geckos. They had one other reptile I can't remember now because it's been 6 years ago. And they have Finnian. And so he got minimum care. I've tried to give him more than minimum care since he's been here. But this worries me because I'm like, I don't know if this is part of whatever neurological thing is going on with him that makes him turn himself over. If it is it degenerative? Like, what in the world are we dealing with? And here she's worried about I'm not giving him enough calcium. And guys, I have to tell you, I was seething with this woman, and I use the term loosely. So she said, "Well, I'm going to need to run some blood work." I said, "Fine." Because she said, "You know, if it's not a husbandry issue and he's not getting enough calcium, then I'm concerned about his kidney function." So horrible amounts of money later for a blood workup, which I told her to go ahead and run. She says, "Well, gosh, his calcium level is perfect. His kidneys are great, and so is his liver." The only one surprised was her. I said, "Well, then why can't he walk correctly? What is going on?" Then she says, "Well, I'm concerned that it might be ADV, which is adenovirus, or adenovirus, which is a virus that bearded dragons can get, yes, okay, but there are very specific symptoms that go along with that, including putting their head at a 90-degree angle to their body, or also known as stargazing. Also can have tremors in one side of their body, usually not both, but sometimes. Also has obvious signs of sickness. Okay, I mean, you can just tell. And it's very contagious, and it's not something that they normally just pick up. Usually they have to come in contact with a sick reptile that already has it, and then, be around them long enough to contract the virus, because it is a virus. Okay. Well, that test by itself was $400. Now, guys, let me tell you, they charged me $732.97 a couple of days ago. Thank God I have a relative who allows me to use his care credit card, and then I paid them off at a reasonable rate that I can afford, because there'd be no way. And when I went last year, they charged me $400. So I am now in well over $1,000 in this animal. He has the exact same problem I took him in for in 2019 as he does to this day. The difference is now his little back legs are, kind of dragging the ground. He's not really standing up on them. Nobody knows why. They can't tell me. They can't explain it. He's still flipping himself over. Some of you saw the video I did, the short, where I went out to get the mail, and I came in, and over he went. Okay, there he went again. That's what he does. Come on, buddy. I know. I'm sorry. Come here. Ugh. So, but he's the best boy ever, you guys. He's the main man. He's the OG. He's my boy. The fact that he's 7 already, just mind-boggling to me. He'll be 8 in March, and he's the best boy that ever lived. He's the one that, if I have to teach anywhere or I'm giving any kind of a talk about them, I always take him, because he's the one that people can see, they can touch, they can interact with, and he loves it, and they love him, and it's all great. Some of these dragons, like Saturn, is not going near another soul because he is so hyper, and I don't know if I can ever trust him with anybody. So, but Finnian's my guy. But see how he's kind of struggling to walk? And what you'll notice if he gets to walk is that he's moving his front legs. He's kind of bulldogging like they do. But then when it comes to his back legs, he's literally commando crawling. Now, he has feeling in them. It's not that he can't feel them. He can. But he's just pushing off with them and sliding along his tummy. He's not actually getting up on them. So even if I try to get him up on them and go, come on, buddy, use your back legs. As soon as I let go, he's back down. So nobody knows. Now, she did say, I told her no, she did not need to do the ADV virus test, because first thing I said was, is it going to matter how you treat him? And she said, no, there's still no cure for ADV. I said, okay, well, I'm fairly confident he does not have ADV. He does not have any of the typical symptoms. He hasn't been around anyone or any animal that does have it. He has 4 other dragons in the same house that bathe in the same area, that see each other, that breathe the same air. None of them have any of these symptoms. So, yeah. I said, what else could it be? Now, this same horrible vet said, oh, well, could be cancer. I said, of where? Oh, it could be in his brain. I said, okay, well, here's an issue with that theory. Number one, he's only 7 years old, which for cancer in these animals, which they do get, is very young. You would expect that, 5 or 6 years from now, if he were going to get it. Second thing was, if he had cancer in his brain, you would expect to see either vision problems, uneven skill and weakness on one side of his body over the other. You would probably expect to see, especially now that it's been 3 years I've been addressing this, you would expect to see nasal tumors or tumors in his ears, or some other way of noticing that, oh yeah, there's definitely some kind of tumor and it's obviously spreading. But no, none of that. His heart was great. Everything was perfect. When that happened, I will tell you, hi, sweet boy, she came over and apologized and had to tell me what a great job I was doing with these animals, and oh, they're so lucky to have me, and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to slap her as hard as I could, because, I get it. Okay, I know that husbandry with these guys is a problem most of the time. But I swear to you, if it's one person in 100 that comes in because they're definitely concerned about the situation and it's not a husbandry problem, you owe it to that person, especially as a new veterinarian, not to come at it with a preconceived idea that clearly this person's an idiot and that's why the dragon is sick. Okay? So, especially when they start off going, hi, I'm rescuing these dragons, which wasn't my goal initially, but I am rescuing them. I currently have 5 in the house, including Finn. And well, by golly, you know, here we are. I'm not an idiot. I've done the research. I do whatever I can do to help them because I get them sick and injured. So, yeah, I know, guys, it's a rant and I don't usually do that to you, but I am so tired of this shit. I can't even tell you. So she goes, well, here you go. Keep giving him the liquid calcium and here's some omnivore care so you can syringe feed him if you need to. And, you know, till he gets back on his regular diet. I said, what if he doesn't get back on his regular diet? She goes, oh, well, if you run out and he's still not on his regular diet, call me. See there, you can kind of see he's dragging his legs in the back. And I said, how long am I supposed to wait with him? I mean, I'll syringe feed him forever, but, you know, I just wanted to know what to expect. I said, should I expect his front legs to go? She goes, oh, probably. But, you know, of course, we don't know what's causing it for sure, so we don't know how long it'll be. And, you know, that was that. And then she smiled and said, have a good day, and gave me a bill for $732. So, here's the thing, guys. It's not hypocalcemia. It's not ADV. It's not metabolic bone disease. All of his organs are in perfect shape. And again, he's still flipping himself over, and now he's not using his back legs. He's just dragging them. I mean, he has feeling. It's not that he doesn't have feeling. If I try to play with his toes, he gets mad, and he'll eventually pull them in. But, you know, he's using them. He just isn't getting up on them. So, long story short, guys, in the $1,300 I've spent on this animal in 3 years, that I'm still paying off the original visit plus the 2 supplemental visits, he has the exact same issue. We do not have any kind of halfway decent veterinarian in the entire county. And I'm telling you guys, I am so desperate. I literally sent emails to the veterinary schools. Hi, big boy. You're my baby. That have herpetological training. And said, please, 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 if any of you are interested in living in Southern California, please come to this county because we are desperate and in dire need. I mean, there are lots of people here that have reptiles. And there's not a reptile vet to save us. So, you know, come here because you'll make lots of money. So, I got a lot of, oh, thanks for your email kind of information, but I hope to God somebody comes because, you know, it's a wing and a prayer, guys. So much so that a young man who's in his late 20s opened a store here to sell feeders because it's so expensive, you know, to go through the mail to get feeders. He was tired of trying to figure out how he was going to get food for his dragons because there's just no easy way to do it. We can't get them locally here. We can get superworms when they're not in quarantine for some reason, like they've been the last couple years where, for those of you that don't know, there was a bacterial type thing that was going on that was killing the superworms before they could hatch, and so we just didn't have them for about 1.5 years. So anyway, they're back in supply now, but for a while it was rough, and we can't get dubia roaches at all. So this guy opened a store. He and I have gotten to know each other quite well because I'm in there all the time. He does have dubias, so if I'm in a pinch, and I usually get mine online because I've tried several places and I finally found one that I like that has great feeders. So I usually go through them. But if I had to in a pinch go down and get some more for some reason, he does have them. So I'm really thankful. But he's literally the only store in the county where you can get them. So, yeah, it's mind-boggling to me that this area, I mean, Southern California in general, but this area especially, you can't get anything you need for these animals. You just can't. So, but the most dire is veterinary care. Because I don't want a veterinarian who will agree to see this animal to charge me $500 or $600 who has no specialized training at all. You know, they read the same books I've read when they were in vet school, and that's what they know. If it's outside of that, oh well, so sorry, so sad. I need a veterinarian that has more knowledge and more capability than I do. Because, you know, understand, if I take my animal in to see the veterinarian, I've already done everything that I can think to do. I've already done everything in the book. I have done all of the tricks of the trade that I know or have learned. I have already checked with everyone I know that also has a reptile that has some knowledge about them. So if I've done all of that and I haven't been able to make a difference, then I need a veterinarian with the big guns, because that's where I am. I've done everything I know. This animal is not improving or still suffering, or, you know, I only made minimal, advances or whatever it is. And, you know, thankfully, I can usually figure out what's going on in 90% of the issues that come up with these guys, because they're pretty hardy little guys. Overall, they're really healthy unless you're not giving them the food, lighting, and heat that they need. If you're doing that, most of the time, you know, they'll go forever. Now, you can even not do what they need in total, and they'll go on for quite some time. They might not thrive, but they'll survive. Okay, but I don't want them to just survive. I want them to thrive. So, again, I'll try everything. You know, if I can see that, you know, somebody's not taking the multivitamin and they're kind of lethargic, okay, I'm going to do all the same things that they're going to do. I'm going to check his lights again. You know, my animals get lights every 6 months, period. They just got them in July. They'll get them again in January. You know, I will check the heat, make sure the temperatures. I have a digital temp gun, so of course I will check their temps just to make sure. I will make sure their UVB is the appropriate length away for the power of the UVB. I only use UVB tube lights, Reptisun 10.0 only. I will make sure they've had plenty of water. They get a daily bath here because, again, when I have animals that are in rehabilitation, you can see what he's doing here. See, he's using his leg, but only to scooch. You know, he's scooting along, but he's not trying to stand on it. Okay, can you grab him and give him back to me? So, all of that is going to be already investigated. I also use a chlorhexidrine and water mixture to give them a weekly toothbrushing so that they don't come down with something terrible in their mouth that gives them bacteria that floats around their little bodies. So yeah, you know, they get everything that I know to do. So yeah, when I go then to a veterinarian because it hasn't worked and he's still scooching along, and he's such a good boy. He's my best boy. He's my guy right here. And I told her too, I said, you know, when he started flipping himself over, I redesigned his entire enclosure. He used to have a great big, I bought it used. It was a great big custom cages job. He had a 2-story environment, but he was falling, which is how this issue with the tail kept going on. So that came out. Now he has a 1-story, so that I try to minimize as much as I can his ability to fall. Even just from his log hide onto the floor, because he can't get back up. So, and I do have his hide because he likes to sit on it, but I have it in a corner opposite, well, not really opposite, kind of parallel to where his basking light is, because if he does fall off and I'm not here, I don't want him to fall where he's under his basking spot and can't move, because I don't want him to overheat, right? So, you know, and normally, like I told her, I take him with me everywhere that I can. The only places I cannot take him, or they will not allow him, are doctor's offices and restaurants. Now, up here we do have some restaurants that have patio seating, so I usually, if we go out, I go there so I can take him. But, you know, there are just some places that there are a bunch of haters that won't let him be there. So, other than that, though, I take him. But if I'm going somewhere or I have to take my dad to the doctor or something, I simply cannot take him, which means he's at risk. So I try to make sure I'm not gone more than a couple of hours maximum. I try to be under an hour just in case. But I'm so frustrated, you guys. I will be paying off this debt probably until the 2030 something. And he's still got the same issue. It seems to be progressive. I can't figure out what's going on. I tried to find a bearded dragon expert. I can't seem to find one. The only name I got was a guy in England, and I tried to reach him, and he's retired and no forwarding, so I can't get a hold of him. When I Googled, you know, expert bearded dragon specialist in the United States, all they do is they give you a list of anybody and his brother who wrote a book about bearded dragon care who are not experts. So, sorry, I'm just ranting, you guys, and I'm really frustrated. You know, my poor baby has got something going on. We don't know what. And I don't know what to expect after this, because we don't know what's causing it. Apparently, there's no help that anybody knows of for him, so I'm going to do what I know to do, which is going to make sure to continue to make sure he gets his calcium. I will syringe feed whenever he doesn't want to eat. Now, today, he did eat 4 superworms, and I gave him his entire milliliter of liquid calcium, so he doesn't have to have supplemental feeding today, only when he doesn't eat. So, I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to try some physical therapy on his back legs and try to maintain his range of motion as much as I can. And make sure that, you know, he's got all of his greens as much as he can. And, you know, we're going to just keep going, because I would do whatever he needed. He's my guy. So, if I have to syringe feed him his entire life that he has left, I'll do it. So guys, that's where we are with this. Again, totally frustrated. If any of you know anything, now again, we're not dealing with a calcium or vitamin deficiency here. All of his tests are good. All of his internal organs are pristine, which is good, because I don't know what his juvenile existence was like.